Hello, welcome back. I hope you all had a good stretch break and some one-on-one meetings, and I hope you enjoyed the Mingler interactions. I enjoyed getting to chat with several of you in Mingler just now. So welcome back. The last formal item in our program before the wrap-up is going to be a panel discussion about careers at Microsoft Research. And the moderator of the panel is Denae Ford Robinson. So Denae is a senior researcher here at MSR for about the past 2 years now in the software analysis and intelligence team. And she's also an affiliate assistant professor at the University of Washington. And fun fact about Denae is that she was herself a recipient of the Microsoft PhD fellowship back when she was a student at North Carolina State University. So Denae will begin the panel and she'll be introducing the other panelists. Enjoy.
Awesome. Thank you for the introduction, Mary. So again, nice to meet you all. I'm Denae, and I hope you all are excited about this last panel of the day. It's going to be a real treat. So we have Bita, Darvish, Rouhani, who is a senior researcher and manager here at MSR. Lukas, Maas, who's a senior researcher and SDE here at MSR as well, and Martez, Mott, who is also a senior researcher and previously a postdoc. I'll let them introduce themselves and tell a bit more about their journeys here to MSR and what they're currently working on. So Bita, if you want to start, go ahead, take it away.
Sure. Thank you. So my name is Bita Rouhani. I'm a senior research manager in Microsoft Azure Cloud Acceleration Systems and Technology. A little about my background. I did my PhD in electrical and computer engineering at UC San Diego. I'm also an alumni of Rice University, where I received my master's degree in computer engineering. I actually joined Microsoft back in 2016 as an intern. Then I did a second internship in 2017, worked as a contractor with my team until I wrapped up my PhD. And then in 2018, I joined full time. So happy to answer any questions that might come up. Lukas, do you want to go next?
Sure. So I'm Lukas. I'm a research software development engineer in the data management exploration and mining group at MSR Redmond. I joined 2.5 years ago. Prior to that, I attended TU Dresden in Germany for undergrad, then spent a year at the Oracle Labs in Redwood City. So that was for me, the fascination for my field always came from building complex systems that impact lots of people. So I knew that industry research for me would be interesting. So going to the Oracle Labs was kind of like a way for me to figure out if industry research is the right place for me. Apparently, I liked it. So after my time at Oracle, I went to Harvard for grad school. During that time, I also had the opportunity to experience industrial research at different companies by interning with both MSR and IBM Research.
All right, I guess I'll go next. So my name is Martez Mott. I'm a senior researcher in the Ability Group at MSR Redmond. I did my bachelor's and master's in computer science from Bowling Green State University in Bowling Green, Ohio. And then I went and did my PhD in information science from the Information School at the University of Washington. I joined Microsoft Research as a postdoc in 2019, and then I just recently converted to a senior researcher about 2 months ago. And in my research, I essentially look at different ways that we can make computing systems and devices more accessible to people with a wide range of different sensory and motor capabilities. So I essentially devise different types of intelligent input interaction techniques and that allow people to interact with systems in whichever way is most comfortable and natural for them, and systems can respond accurately to those inputs. So that's a little bit about me and what I do.
Awesome. And I'll actually give a little bit more detail about myself and my background. So I'm actually from the North Carolina State University. So I finished my bachelor's, master's, and PhD all in computer science there, where I had a graduate minor in cognitive science. And prior to joining MSR, I also interned in 2016, which was really exciting and great to figure out if this was a place I wanted to be at, and lo and behold, it was. Prior to interning at MSR, I've interned at MSR Lincoln Labs, MIT Lincoln Labs, Facebook Research, and a host of other software development positions throughout my undergraduate position. So I'm currently studying online programming communities and starting with the focus on the marginalized experiences in order to figure out how we can build the next generation communities for software developers and what that looks like and how we can empower developers from all different backgrounds to kind of contribute to our technical workforce in that way. So that's a little bit about ourselves. Oh, I think something I should also highlight is that all the members of our panel today have received fellowships or district accreditation grant awards. So we would like to open the floor for you all at any point throughout today to talk about or ask questions about what it was like during the application process, what happened after we received these awards, and how that kind of influenced or may not have influenced how we joined Microsoft today. So I want to make sure I probe you all for that for sure. So to get our panel started off on the good foot, can all of you describe why you chose a job at MSR? For example, can you mention things like what other jobs you considered and what made you choose your current job? Let's start from different order. Maybe Martez, you can go first.
Yeah, sure. What is job? So essentially, when I was getting towards the end of my PhD, I really wanted to do research. So, the kind of idea for me was really either to stay in academia, be a professor, or to join kind of like an industry research lab where I could still kind of be be really involved and heavily involved in the research. I think one of the benefits for me as an accessibility researcher is that, one of the things I care about is that I can actually make technology more accessible to people. And kind of one of the ways to do that is to be at a company or organization that allows you to have more scale in the type of things that you can do. So, compared to kind of the prototype systems I was able to build kind of like as a graduate student and things like that, it's a different benefit now to be able to kind of just reach out directly to developers and engineers on various teams and be able to kind of just have conversations with them and really be able to chat about, how to make these systems more accessible. So it's been a real learning experience for me as well. As I mentioned, I kind of went straight through school. I didn't have any time off or I had any kind of industry experience. So it's been a really great learning opportunity to understand how systems get developed at scale and then how to actually be able to communicate with people to kind of create a discourse around the importance that accessibility should play in developing these systems. So I think it's been a really beneficial, for me, not only to just be part of a great company, but I have really like to continue this learning experience, this journey that I've been on, for the past 10 years or so.
Ooh, 10 years. Yep, that's how long school takes. Bita, did you want to go next?
Sure. Similar to Marcus, I was considering whether I should join academia or industry. But to be honest with you, the project that was offered to me to work on was such high ambition and high impact that I simply couldn't pass on. And it's, as Marcus mentioned, not only about the novelty, but also the scale and the high impact you can have on millions of people by deploying your ideas and innovation in larger scale. And so my work is at the intersection of computer architecture and machine learning and how we can efficiently, for instance, scale up and deploy AI models at ultra low latency and cost. Today, we hear about how AI is enabling, for instance, breakthrough in different fields such as genomics, healthcare, agriculture, and different. Just for me, it's just imagining what else is possible by building a computing platform that can efficiently scale up and be available to public at low cost was just an opportunity I couldn't pass on, and I chose to join Microsoft to make that happen.
That's a good point. Lucas, you want to go next?
Yeah. So I guess like I'm the exception here because I did not consider academia at all. For me, the question was more how far do I how deep do I want to go into engineering? The biggest draw that made me choose MSR was probably the specific projects that I would be working on, and also the impact that you can have as an engineer at MSR. At Microsoft, you can impact products that are used by hundreds of millions of people, right? And sure, you can also do that at other mega tech companies. And I was considering those as well. But I think at MSR, you really have way more impact on what the future of products will look like. You work on in much smaller teams and work on much more risky, but also a project with much higher reward. And that's something that you don't really get outside of industry research. So that was like one very big point for me. The other nice thing was to be able to stay connected to research. If you are in a pure engineering environment, there's a lot you need to focus on that is not necessarily researchy or even building systems. Like you need to be on call. You need to write lots of tests. Things like that are less take up less time at MSR, I'd say. So it's a very interesting balance for someone who wants to really build systems and work on the whole stack.
I like that perspective, Lucas. I'm glad you're on this panel, actually. So fun fact, Lucas and I interned. Well, first of all, Lucas and I were MSR fellows the same year, but we also interned around the same time. And the reason I mentioned that is because one of the reasons why I chose MSR is because I was able to find a community of amazing researchers who were also real people. They felt like people I could connect with, people I could collaborate with. And I was very surprised to find that during my internship that there were places that had that brilliance in both ways. So for me, when I was looking at careers, I never really put industry versus academia. It was mostly, I kind of put MSR in this academic bucket because when you're working here as a researcher, you are also still writing papers, you're still serving on committees, still writing reference letters, you're still doing all those you're mentoring students as well during internships, even off cycle throughout the summer and even through the fall. So you get the full experience aside from, being a pure advisor as you would in academia. So I was really surprised that MSR had that. And that was something I was really interested in doing, having the best of both worlds. Mary mentioned that I'm also a affiliate faculty member at the University of Washington. So what that helps is if I wanted to teach or co-teach a course, which I've been asked to, I just don't have time right now, I have the opportunity to do that. And co-advise students and serve on committees. And you have those opportunities when you're in industry, not just at MSR, but uniquely at MSR, you have the ability to be actively and current on research papers and stay up to date and the expert in that way, which was unique. One of the main reasons I actually chose MSR, and you probably heard it from all the panelists, and we may need to dive deeper into this later, is impact. So throughout my PhD, I was able to kind of collaborate with Stack Overflow, which is, Stack Overflow, you're a computer scientist. So I was able to collaborate with them on their first mentorship program during my PhD, and it felt more of like a one-off situation. It was amazing to be able to do that, but I realized that I had energy to be able to design systems and be able to see them deployed in practice. And I wanted to be at a place where I could do that at the next level. So Microsoft acquired GitHub. And as my work was moving from the online programming community of Stack Overflow to GitHub, it made logical sense. So I was really excited to be able to still stay, again, actively engaged with products in a way, or at least have my research insights influence products, while still being able to write the technical papers and contribute to our research community in that way. So that's my side. I know that when I actually had some one-on-ones with students, the idea of, again, what is impact? I hear impact a lot here at MSR. Everyone talks about impact. What is it really? Can you all, or you all can pick who wants to go first. how would you describe the most impactful, I guess, project or work you did recently at MSR, just so you can make it kind of concrete for our audience?
I guess I'll I'll take that one first. So
sorry, y'all, I'm going off script.
no, it's fine. Yeah, I mean, so just to reiterate, so I do accessibility research. So I think kind of the primary utility of what I do, right, is to allow people to have access to systems and to be able to participate in experiences that maybe were inaccessible or they were excluded from prior, right? So, you know, there's small things that I get to do. Like, for example, I can kind of like, part of my job is to kind of just be like an accessibility consultant. Like, I get to talk to different product teams and give them like advice based off my expertise in human motor control and human movement, working with people with limited mobility, to kind of give advice and expertise just on like, hey, we might want to consider this, you know, when you're designing these new systems. And I think in the research, this notion of impact. So what I'm working on now is looking at accessibility of mixed reality systems, essentially. So the impact I'm hoping to have with that work is that, you know, as Windows continues to evolve as kind of mixed reality offerings, it's going to be important for whatever mixed reality future Microsoft can envision for that future to be accessible as well. So I look at this as saying like, hey, I have an opportunity to kind of be embedded in this company and to actually have potential impact in terms of saying like, hey, when different spatial computing for Windows comes out, or when HoloLens continues to expand its offerings and to enter new markets, the idea that I could create tools and systems and guidelines and create a theoretical foundation that could be helpful for the way people think about spatial computing for people with disabilities, I think could be really useful and could be really impactful. So that's the way I've been thinking about it for the past few months or so.
Okay, that's helpful. Anyone else?
I can go next. So my opinion, impact can come like in different forms, like starting from the topic you choose to do your research on. For instance, are you trying to address like a real world problem or a problem that exists, for instance, today, or like is it like a longer term thing that like can actually unblock so many new like topics to look into? So what's your problem statement? Like even like the way you can choose it and like the insights you get on how to choose it, like in an industry setting, like can be useful and can go a long way in terms of the impact. Then the other thing is like once you carry out like these research and innovations that you have, like who are the users? Is it really accessible to them, or like is it like a generalizable thing that can, okay, are you reducing, for instance, the non-reoccurring engineering cost? Is the next user going to be like leveraging it just fine, or was it just like a one-time optimization you did and then like it worked for something and then like it doesn't work for the next thing involved? So like impact in terms of like how much like other people can rely on it and then like leverage it in a setting, and then like how generalizable it is. And like then the last thing is like, okay, like once it's deployed in production, like for instance, like if it's like in Azure or like it's being Office and like so many other products that Microsoft has, like there are many people that can benefit from, like for instance, a new model that's deployed, it has higher accuracy and so on and so forth. So if you make the life of people like even slightly easier, like that's also like a great impact.
Yeah, to maybe build on what Bita just said, I think the unique thing the unique opportunity we have is to directly deploy our findings in real products, and especially through the cloud, we get those things out very quickly, and we can impact millions of people. And I think that is really unique. Coming from the systems field, I would think that a large fraction of papers never really gets implemented in any products. But the work that we do here in close collaboration with the product teams, most of the time, if the findings are promising, will make it into the products. And I think that's a super unique thing that you have at very few places. just the scale and the number of users.
Okay, that was great answers, you all. So I have another question. So all four of us, I guess, I wanted to provide tips on why interviews and application processes, or I guess the best tips on the interview and application processes. So my first question for this section is, if someone else wanted a job like yours, what advice would you give them on how to prepare?
I can go first. So it's not an advice per se, it's just a suggestion. It's like while you are like in, for instance, grad school, don't constrain yourself to just like one field or like have a laser sharp like focus on one topic. Like give yourself the chance of exploring and like working interdisciplinary projects to learn more what's going on in other fields, even if you don't want to stick around like or do like your work later on like in that other field. It gives you some insight of like what's going on in other fields, what problem and like research topics like is like happening in other things, and it gives you a good insight and good taste in picking up the research problems you would want to work on. And you would be surprised on how much overlap there is between different fields, because like at the end of the day, like all of us are working like around the science and how we can make things better in terms of like different functionalities, and there would be lots of good collaboration that can shape up if you just expand your horizon and look for like interdisciplinary projects while you have the chance.
Yeah, my advice was going to be a little bit more generic, I guess, in terms of saying like you know, I think a lot of the advice you'll get when you're on the job market, near the job market, you know, things that you'll hear, like, you know, you want your writing to be really good. For example, like when you're writing these, I mean, you have to think about this in terms of like, you know, people who may not know you, people who may not have a great understanding of what you do in your work, they only really get a very limited amount of time to kind of get a sense of who you are and the type of work that you do. You know, people are looking over potentially hundreds of applications, right? And you kind of want to stick out. So I think kind of being very, you know, things like, you know, being very clear and like precise in your writing and things like that to really get your story across. I mean, you essentially want to be able to weave a narrative around like what's the importance of your work and why would being at Microsoft Research, if we're talking specifically about like how to get this job, right? Like how being at Microsoft Research will help you accomplish those goals, and then what you would do also for like Microsoft, right? Like what's the kind of like symbiosis there. So I think that's one thing. And then I think the other thing too was just to like to be very proactive in reaching out and trying to meet people. From my experience, like when I interned at MSR, I did 2 internships. When I reached out to people and I just like, hey, can I have a chat? Can we just like chat for like 25 minutes or something? People seem to be really open to that. So I think if you're really interested, there's a research group that you're really interested in working with, or different researchers you're just interested to learn more about MSR and this kind of stuff they do, just reach out and like try to grab, you know, people's times and just, you know, talk to them for a while. I think people will be really open to that, and it will show that, you know, you're really engaged and you care and that you're willing to put in that kind of like legwork or put in that time to make those connections. So I know that's kind of generic, but I think it's good advice. So.
No, it's good. No, it's helpful. That's helpful.
Yeah, I also like fully agree with that. Reach out, even if you think that maybe there's no opening at a group, for example, right? Or for some reason you think like you don't have a chance to get a job. Just reach out, talk to people. It can really help you also to prepare for the eventual interviews. Maybe one more concrete thing that I can add, which is more specific to the role of research software development engineers at Microsoft. So the interview process is a little bit different than for researchers, in that the interviewers are skewed more towards the engineering side. There will be other research engineers, might be engineers from the product group as well, if the specific group you're applying to collaborates with product groups, and then also some researchers. The most important thing that I think I can't stress enough is like you need to show both that you have a depth of knowledge and that you get from your PhD or grad school, right? Like you should have really good understanding of what is the state of the art for mechanisms and software architecture in your field. You should be able to prototype a system on your own, right? But you also need to demonstrate that you have coding skills and that you have good problem solving skills. And coding skills, it really, really helps to read cracking the coding interview, do lead codes, and be really comfortable, especially when questions are not necessarily first chapter of the book or directly taken out of the book. So yeah, so that's also, by the way, for researchers, often there is at least one coding interview depending on the group. And it definitely helps to practice a little bit for that.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, that definitely depends on the group for sure. But you should definitely, at the very least, even if you're at the intersection of HCI and another field, like I'm HCI and software engineering, making sure that you're up to date on your Python and R skills that you'll be using for data analysis. It's very important. So good point, Lukas. I'm glad you mentioned that. So for me, I think my biggest advice that I would offer is to challenge yourself to think about the broader vision of your work. And to think about the resources you have here at MSR that you wouldn't have elsewhere, right? So thinking about what product teams, or even if you don't know if the product team exists yet, or who they are, how your project could impact some of the products Microsoft already has, or even new ones that could kind of evolve from your work. I found that having those conversations during the interview process came up in passing during interviews actually, but it was not clear to me that there were actually projects people were already working on that kind of aligned with that. And being able to show that you have the ability to think bigger beyond your little narrow scope of your PhD research you've been working on is actually a very great skill to have as you evolve as a researcher, regardless of if you come to MSR or not, right? So I would say that that would be a very important skill to think concretely about what that looks like would be in your favor for your interview here. So with that, I'm going to pause and see if we have any chat questions, and it looks like we got a couple. So feel free, you all, to ask questions and send them into the chat. We have people on standby reading them. So there is one question. It says, what advice do you give candidates who are deciding between pursuing a career at MSR and research divisions at competing companies? Anyone find themselves in that situation?
I mean, simple advice, but probably like I would, the more information you can have, the better, just in terms of making those decisions for yourself. So I would say, reach out to people, if any, and all people that you know at those different research divisions. I mean, each company runs their research divisions slightly different. So you'll want to get a good sense of, well, if you join some other company, how would that be different than the type of research that you're allowed to do at MSR? The other thing you want to think about is kind of like, what's like the advantage of doing that, of joining that company? Like what would be kind of like the competitive edge that joining that company would provide you over the others? So, Denae mentioned before, like, she does a lot of work with GitHub. So it's like, if you're here, you can do a lot of that work with GitHub, right? Because Microsoft owns GitHub. So if there's like, hey, I really want to work in this particular area, or like, oh, there's a great data source, or, that I'll have access to, you want to think about those things, like, what resources does the company have that would elevate your research, right, in a pretty substantial way. So that's one way to think about that, I think.
That's a good one. Anyone else? I would echo that, actually, thinking about, again, how you can think concretely about what you can add here, that you can't add somewhere else. So the reason I got on this panel is to be very transparent. So I had a couple I was interviewing a couple of places, and I actually had to figure out this question of like, what do I want my research to look like in the next couple of years? I kind of place it off 5-year increments. And where can I go, university or other competing research industry? Where can I go that's going to help me get to that goal? And yeah, MSR was the answer to that question for me. But there are other research industries as well, depending on where do you want your impact to lie, if impact is an important thing to you, what type of contributions or research contributions you want to make to society in different ways beyond just writing research papers that are worthwhile to think about. There's another question here in the chat. Outside of your research and the impact, what is the one thing that makes you stay at MSR?
I think for me, it's like also the culture, like as you mentioned, and like before, like it's like people are real. You can interact with them. There is no sign of ego or anything. Like collaborations usually go as smoothly, and like the core priorities that we have to boost each other up and like help each other like develop new skills and like hold each other like accountable. This is something like that was one of the things that I decided to join Microsoft in general.
Lucas, you have an answer for this one?
Yeah, I would second that. I think it's definitely the people. If I had to summarize in one word, it's definitely just people. It's an amazing culture. It is very collaborative. Like you feel that everybody works with each other, right? And I think that's something that you don't have at every company. At some companies, maybe groups are more isolated. Sometimes there's competition between people. We also know that from academia, of course. So I think that's something that, for me, made a big difference.
Yeah, I don't want to just, yeah, I mean, I think I think I'll probably have the same answer. Yeah, I think it's, I mean, I think it's just like, yeah, the people, the culture, I think it's a good culture. I think it's a culture that puts people in an environment to do their best possible work, right? Which is kind of what you want from like your peers and from like, the lab, the people that run the lab management and things like that. So yeah, I think it's nice to feel supported and like the type of research you want to do and to kind of get that buy-in from your peers. I also think, like I mentioned before, like I also think of this opportunity as still just like as a learning experience. Like, I have a great opportunity to learn from a lot of people who have a lot of different expertise than I have, and to be able to kind of just learn and to see how people think about different problems and how they analyze different problems and things like that. It's also been really great. So it's also a really great environment for learning, I would say.
I would second that for sure. I think for me, I was pivoting my research area quite a bit from gender to trying to understand a little bit more of cultural and racial experiences of developers. And I feel like I felt very supported in that transition and supported to go learn things and get in contact with GitHub people. And I felt very empowered to do that. And I would say, not to say this is like PhD part 2, but you have the ability to pivot research areas and find new intersections as you collaborate with people. And I think that's probably one of the main reasons I really like you here at MSR. I feel supported in those ways. And support was really important to me for where I wanted to see myself. The same way if you're going to visiting universities and you're having those one-on-one with your other faculty members, those are your colleagues, right? You want to feel like you can collaborate with them, be able to have, if it's a one-off coffee chat with folks, or be able to complain about how your research is going, right? We want to be able to have all of those things. And I found that I was able to have all of those in my team. So that's a great question, actually. I think this other question is, what's the hardest part of your job at MSR? Nobody's talking.
Yeah. I mean, I guess yeah. I mean, that's a good one. I mean, the hardest. I mean, I could just name some things, and we could see kind of like what boils up to the top. So, um, I will say one of the difficulties for me personally has just been kind of I'm trying to be economical with my words here and trying to kind of be concise as possible, but it's so there is a lot of opportunity for impact, but that can also be difficult because there can also be a lot of different directions that you could go and a lot of different things that you could get into. And that could be great because it's really exciting to say like, oh, this person on this team is doing this really cool research. I could jump on that project, and oh, they're doing this really cool research on this project over here. And I want to do that too. And it's like, well, you kind of still have to have kind of like a central mission and a goal with your research. And it's not to say that you can't collaborate on other people's projects. We're very actively encouraged to help out each other, but I think you still want to maintain that focus. And I think that compared to like academia, where I think that focus is much more explicitly kind of told to you, it's kind of like, hey, here's your office, like, please give me that like first NSF grant or whatever, like as fast as possible. I think here you're kind of given a little bit more freedom to be able to kind of like explore these different things, right? But that could also be problematic if you're too unfocused, right? And you kind of just start to do a little bit of too much of everything. So I would say that's been a problem for me of seeing a lot of shiny things and wanting to be involved, but trying to maintain kind of like a core research agenda, kind of core research mission, and then trying to carve out appropriate time as necessary to, participate on other projects. So.
Nobody wants to talk about the hard parts, I guess. I'm gonna talk about the hard parts. So I joined in September 2019, so it's a pre-COVID. And actually, I had the same challenge that Martez actually just mentioned, which was this kid in the candy store. Like, ooh, there's so many new shiny things that could happen, and I wanted to get new collaborations started, but still hopefully keep on to my old ones. But you can't do them all, right? But you do have that period where you're trying to figure out which ones are going to be sustainable, or which ones are you're going to push on a lot of doors, and all the doors weren't open right at the same time. So you're going to find yourself trying to figure out which of these areas is the most interesting to you. And that does take a little time. Luckily, it worked out for me in the end, but it's a part of the journey, I think. I think the other second hardest thing about I think it's just more of a Microsoft thing as a culture-wise, is this game of telephone I had to play in order to figure out who was working with what. So because we're all busy researchers, the only time you really get to find out what the latest things, sometimes one of the few times you get to figure out what everyone's working on is if they do a talk, and if they do share a research paper internally or externally. So it's kind of sometimes challenging to figure out who's working on that new cutting edge thing. So I had to do quite a bit of play a game of telephone, at least within product teams as well, because they don't write research papers, right? So to figure out which product team you wanted to connect with, who's doing what, who's the PM on that team, what is their vision. It was kind of fun actually, because I got to meet a lot of people on the way who I've been able to retain connections with. But that was one of the challenging parts at first. For me being a very independent person, it was kind of frustrating for me to be like, I need to email this one person, talk to them for 30 minutes for them to connect me with another person and another person. But I think that's more of the newness of working at somewhere as a new employee. But that was a challenge for me.
Yeah, I have actually a similar experience when working deep inside the product. Oftentimes you basically like tear apart the whole system to get your new feature in, or your like your new architecture, and you stumble upon something that you don't understand or that needs more clarification, and you're trying to find out who can you talk to. You see that the feature was built by someone who's probably not at Microsoft anymore. So then the question is, who's the right person to contact? And then you might contact someone, and then that person will just forward you to someone else. But eventually you'll get someone who has an idea what's going on. But yeah, this is sometimes a little bit frustrating, and it can delay progress.
I can also add something here. So the thing is, like, all of us are in a learning journey. Like, at some time things can be hard, and then like once we learn how to cope with it, or like how to adapt with it, like it wouldn't be hard. Like the next thing shows up, and like I love when Martez was mentioning, like, hard things are not necessarily bad things. There are also opportunities that you can develop new skills that with them, and then like in future, like that can be also useful. For me, for instance, like in past year, like I had a transition from an individual contributor, like an IC to a manager, and then like I was building a team like during pandemic. Like, okay, like I didn't get to meet like the people that we hired, for instance, like in person, and then like greet them in person, onboard them in person, and like figuring out how I can be like a good manager, in the sense that like, okay, I provide resources that they need to be successful, in order how to connect them with different people, and like be there for them was like challenging at the beginning, but it was also an opportunity. Okay, now like we figured it out, like we also like communicated a lot. The other things is like when you want to collaborate across different orgs, like yes, it can be challenging, but like it's also like about getting in touch with the right set of people and expanding your network. Wherever you go, you need to do like expand your network, like at the end of the day, like, and it's something that's like gonna happen anywhere. So just getting connected with the right set of people, and like have a chat with like different set of people that, okay, like what are you working on? And like if for instance you have a connection that, okay, something came up, like, okay, this is a person I need to go to, and that person has also a network, so that person can connect you to more people. So like these are all like learning opportunities. Like at the beginning it can be hard, like frustrating. It's like, what I'm doing here, but like at the end, like you figure it out, and it's a learning journey. Like next year new challenges comes in. Like all of us know, like change is the only constant these days. So like it's just like how you can develop your skills and like cope with different things. It's like, I think like the one skills all of us should develop.
Okay, that was a good one. We have another question here, and I want to encourage you all to continue adding questions in the chat as well. This one here about how do you manage work-life balance in being being at such a competitive research organization? So again, that was how do you manage work-life balance in being at such a competitive research org?
I can give it a try. I think like it's mostly about like our personalities. Like if you want a work-life balance, you have the freedom and the choice to have it. If you want to work over hours, you also have the choice to do it. And it really depends on your personality and what you want out of your daily life. So for instance, for me, like working is fun, like just thinking about like the challenges we are dealing with, and like the research questions. So I don't mind, for instance, working like 1 hour more every day, but like nobody is forcing me to do that, right? And like it really like depends on the person. And like the nice thing is you have the opportunity and you have the flexibility to adjust it according your whatever lifestyle you choose for yourself.
Yeah, I would agree in terms of like, yeah, I think it's a very personal kind of question. I think, yeah, everyone, would need to work that out kind of like for themselves. I mean, I think at least, I've only been here around 2 years, so I can't speak to, for people who've been here, decades, but, from my experience, it's been quite flexible, in terms of how you want to do that. Like, people understand, like, hey, some people have, young children that they need to, take to school in the morning. So if they're like, hey, I can't have any meetings before this time, it's like, okay, cool. That's like your thing. Similarly, right? If people are like, oh, I have to, I'm a, primary caregiver for like a family member, so I need to like be gone in the afternoon, so I can't have meetings past 2 p.m. or 2:30. I think there's a lot of flexibility, and I think there's just a lot of understanding of people saying like, hey, as long as you kind of like get your work done and you're like, a member of the team and, and all that other stuff, I think people are pretty happy to give people the flexibility and the time and opportunity to construct their work life to fit their needs, especially I think now that we're seeing around with the coronavirus and all of the lockdowns and the work from home things. I think people have been really good at trying to be understanding of people and what their different responsibilities are. So I actually think it's pretty good. I actually think that it's especially compared to how I felt my work-life balance was as a PhD student. I feel like I've done much better just in these last couple of years since then. So.
I can go next. So for me, I feel like I would agree with Martez and Bita for this one. I feel like work-life balance is really what you make of it. I feel like during your PhD, especially towards the end of it, your head's down working on a lot of stuff at all hours and all days and things like that. But I think when you, for example, get on the job market was a good example of when I realized that that's not sustainable. I can't be successful at these interviews and be able to do active research and submit those papers and do whatever all that service stuff they're asking me to do and live my life. That's something we haven't talked much about, so I do want to bring that up too. But again, work-life balance is what you make it, and I feel like since being in full-time in industry, I've been able to find a good one. And I've heard horror stories from my academic colleagues, so I think my life is pretty great compared to some of just compared to some of the interactions that they have to have with some of their students. So I think you can put up those boundaries. Again, going through COVID, it looks different for everyone. It looks very different for everyone. I feel like a lot of people have been, working more and facing burnout more right now, and it's just challenging, even right now, but can be challenging before COVID as well. But I think as long as you feel like you have those boundaries, you make them explicit so people can acknowledge them and respect them, then you should be in a good place.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that as well. I think that as a grad student, you tend to work on weekends and really like spend a lot of time on work, and it also depends a little bit on your advisor. For example, junior faculty answer emails at 3 a.m. on a Sunday night. Nobody does that at MSR. And that's actually something that I really enjoy. Nobody expects you to work on the weekends. Unless maybe you have a paper coming up and you want to work, right? But as long as there's no like strict deadline coming up, it's really up to you. If you want to work on weekends, nobody will stop you, but also nobody expects it from you.
Yeah, I think the only time people really work on weekends is when they're reviewing each other's papers and everyone's working towards Chi, ICSI, NERPS, when people are working on conference submissions. So that's a good point. We do have another question in the chat. This person asked, could you talk a little bit about your selection process, I'm assuming for interns, and FTEs maybe as well, to start working at Microsoft? So what type of, what's your high priority selection criteria for when you select people to be your interns or to be your colleagues as FTEs?
I can give it a shot. So like with Matt, like at the end of the day, like we're hiring a person and like it's a full package. Like, is it like a fit in terms of the culture of the team? Does it like is he or she like a good team player and can work along with others like effectively? What are the technical skills like in terms of like the niche of their research? Like, is it like well aligned, or what else can it add to the current scope of the work that we are doing? What they bring on the table in terms of like the technical contributions. And like mostly, for instance, my team, like we are looking for an R&D roles, like it has both component of research and also like, can we do like proof of concept implementation? How efficient is that? So like it's a full package, and it's just like, it's about like the person, do they have like growth mindset, or what are they trying to learn and optimize, for instance, in X number of years? Are they a good fit in terms of the culture? Is their technical background aligned with what we do or what we plan to do like in near future? And like, are they capable to also do like proof of concept implementations and like execute the ideas that they have?
Execution is very important in your ability to show that. Martez, were you going to add a perspective?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like for interns, for example, I was gonna say, I work in a very interdisciplinary research area, so the kind of an intern I might be looking at for a particular project will, depend on kind of like, the parameters of that project. So it might say like, oh, I really need somebody with really strong, design skills for this one project, where I need implementation for this other one. So I need really somebody with really strong implementation, programming, engineering skills. I need to do qualitative data analysis. So I need somebody with qual skills, so there could be all these different things. So I think the kind of like the technical expertise she needs to have, at least for my kind of research area, is going to really depend on kind of like the project and everything. I think one of the biggest things is just like, hey, like you're going to be working with like a new person for 3 months. It's kind of like this, exchange of ideas. Like, I really look at it as like, do I want to work with this person for 3 months? Can I have this kind of like really intense, because it can be intense, right? It's like you have 3 months, you're working on this like research project, you're trying to get either like a paper published or a system built and all this other stuff. So it can kind of be a hectic 3 months. So I look for people that in terms of like, like, hey, how would this person fit in on the team? How would I feel about like just my personal interactions with this person? Does this person seem like a good team player that, I would feel comfortable over the next 3 months that we can kind of have an open exchange of ideas and we can kind of have open dialogue. Like, I don't want it to be that they're super closed off and they're just going to do things like the one way that they know how to do them. I don't want to be super closed off and just kind of explicitly tell an intern what to do and everything. So you kind of want to be able to kind of have this working relationship where you both could feel open and honest, talking about the research and discussing ideas with each other. So I think if you can demonstrate that, like just the honesty and your just kind of willingness to be able to exchange ideas and talk through ideas, not be too defensive and try to, defend a bad idea, and not also being kind of too passive and just letting like a bad idea kind of just like go by without saying anything, really having kind of like this ability to talk about things and really exchange those ideas, what I think is really beneficial. So.
Yeah, I also like fully agree with that approach. When I interview interns, what I'm mainly interested in is I want to see when I explain the project idea to them, do they have their own ideas already? Like how they would approach it? Like what's their way of thinking? I think that's really what I'm looking for. Even for full-time employee interviews, the approach to problems, I think, is more important than if they necessarily solve, let's say, a design or coding question. It's really more about finding out how do the people work, how do they approach problems, and if, let's say, if they give up too early or they totally have the wrong direction and don't realize that even after like giving them a few nudges, then I guess that's not a good sign. But on the other hand, like it's normal that sometimes like you get stuck somewhere, right? That's also why we work in teams here and not alone, because often some like fresh new ideas help. But yeah, those are like kind of the things I'm looking for.
Those are great ones. I would actually build on that, Lucas. And because being unstuck, figuring out how to get unstuck is important. That determination to keep going is just as important. So some things I look for that can help that are excitement about the project area already, even if it's not exactly what aligns with your work. I think it's important to be able to have some type of excitement or enthusiasm about the work, because you're going to be doing it for 3 months and it's not going to be fun. And I think that was one of the highlights of just doing amazing research, is like doing work that's exciting for you, so that you're also excited when you're doing the data analysis, and when things don't work, you're still excited and can overcome those challenges, right? I think that can really help push us through. We have about 5 minutes left, and we have one very last question, which is, what kind of hobbies do you have, and what kind of support does MSR provide for you to do them? So I'm going to go first on this one. I don't think I really went first on any of them, but my hobbies have been hot yoga. So Microsoft does have like your Stay Fit reimbursement. So they pay for my hot yoga classes, which is like my work-life balance. It's been just regular living room yoga since COVID, but it's been really amazing that there's support for that. There's also even distribution lists that you can join based on your hobbies, even if you're an alumni of a particular university. There were previously like little get-togethers in person for those, but there are distribution lists to figure out, shared, shared experiences. Another hobby of mine is looking at interior decor, and just like home decor and things like that. It's been kind of fun to look at. It was kind of fun before, but now that during COVID times we're kind of confined to where we live, it's become even more important that where you live is somewhere that feels warm to you. And it's kind of interesting how you can use design to kind of create a place that feels safe.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so I think my biggest hobby is probably just reading. So I do a lot of reading. Microsoft, they pay me so I can buy books. So I guess that's how they support me in that hobby. Um, but no, I do think in general that there's a lot of opportunities for people to find hobbies, a lot of lists for people to find people who have like a lot of shared interests, and to be able to kind of talk about those different things, especially like when people are in person, right? A lot of different like opportunities to meet up and stuff. So
Yeah, so one nice benefit that Microsoft has is that they do support your hobbies also financially. Starting next year, it's going to be a wide array of different things they will support, including musical instruments, which I'm looking forward to because I'm playing guitar, and I'm looking forward to buying another one. So that's gonna be great.
Like my hobby is like reading different books, and also I do some paintings, but I want to second that. Like there are different ERG groups and Microsoft, depending on your interests and like hobbies that you love, you can join different distribution group. And as Lucas mentioned, like you're also financially supported.
Yes. So that looks like it concludes our Q&A. You all should have our names listed on the website. We're in contact information. We all have MSR websites that you can use to follow up with us. We hope that this panel was really helpful and insightful for you all. I'm going to hand over to Mary real quick to wrap up, but thank you all for tuning in. And thank the panelists. I appreciate you all for accepting.
Thank you.
Yeah, am I on? Great. Thank you so much, Denae and Lucas and Bita and Martez. That was a really interesting panel discussion, and I think all of the students learned a lot from it. So thank you for sharing. Also, I wanted to take this time to especially thank Sarah Smith and Mariah Christensen for all of the work that they've put into organizing today and yesterday's virtual events. So thank you, Sarah and Mariah. everyone can virtually clap. So the recordings of all of the sessions are going to be made available in a couple of days, and I think that Sarah and Mariah will send you all some follow-ups with the links to access the recordings in case you're interested in that. And I wanted to just thank everyone for their time and attention and their patience in, you know, trying out this new virtual format for the event, trying to make the best of the COVID situation to still get together and network and share information. I hope that you'll all take the opportunity to fill out the survey after the event. It's at aka.ms/PhD SUMT survey, so that you can give feedback to us on how to improve this and similar events in the future. And I'm just going to check my messages here to see if there's any other announcements that anyone needs me to share with you. I'm going to give 10 seconds for someone to tell me about any other important announcements I missed. But I think we've covered it all. So thank you so much and have a wonderful rest of your day in whatever time zone you're in. Bye.